Hello, it's Sunday and welcome to The Big Magazine, your weekly digest from big news. I'm Lee Bannister, and over the next hour we're going to take a relaxed look around Birmingham, Solihull, the Black Country and beyond. Yes, welcome to your Sunday edition of The Big Magazine. Now, in a few moments, we'll take a look back with Bob over the week in big news to see what's been happening in our area this week. A little later on, Des and Gary will be with us to look at what's on Sunday. And then Carl will take time out from the big picture to let us know what's happening in the world of film. I'll be sitting down with Natalie to see what's up on this week's community notice board, and then Taffy will have this week's charity focus, in which we're going to find out more about a local charity. And of course, if you know of a deserving cause that we could cover, stay tuned, because we'll have our contact details for you later on in the show. Tom Wilkinson from Doorstep History will drop in to give us a history lesson in what happened this week over the years, and then I'll be jumping into the good old big centre post bag to see what you've been talking about. You can't keep me out of it. So that's all to come within the pages of Sunday's Big Magazine.
Thanks, Lee. Well, it's the highest military award you can achieve, and a local recipient of the Victoria Cross was commemorated in Stourbridge. 100 years ago to the day that Second Lieutenant Edward Felix Baxter lost his life, a plaque was unveiled to recognise his bravery. Lois Swinnerton was there.
Silence to remember a man who made the ultimate sacrifice. In Stourbridge, people gathered to commemorate a fallen hero. Second Lieutenant Edward Felix Baxter was awarded the Victoria Cross for several acts of conspicuous bravery in 1916. He was born just half a mile down the road from where we are today, and 100 years on, this plaque now serves as a reminder of his valour.
There were several acts of bravery that he performed. On one, he was holding a live hand grenade, which dropped to the ground, and he only had 4 seconds in which to pick it up, unscrew the detonator and smother it in the mud before it had gone off and killed him and his own men. So he undoubtedly saved lives. On the attack, they spent 2 days snipping through wire to get to the German trenches, and then during the actual attack he led his men with the utmost gallantry. After the attack, he helped the last man over the parapet of the trench, and was the last man himself to leave. And unfortunately, he was never seen again in the fog of war and the confusion.
The Victoria Cross recognises extreme acts of bravery. It's the highest award of its type that a British and Commonwealth serviceman can achieve. Representative from Edward Baxter's family, Dr. Susan Clegg, has great pride.
It's a great honour and a privilege to unveil this memorial stone to Felix Baxter. He was a very brave man, and nobody should forget those who were killed in both World War I and World War II.
Edward Baxter's plaque joins the names of others who gave their lives for their country, now engraved on a memorial, so we never forget.
It's incredibly important to remember Edward Baxter VC, and not just for those there on that day, but men like him who laid down their lives to give us the freedoms we enjoy today.
Lois Swinnerton for Big News in Stourbridge.
A bookshelf specifically designed at helping 13 to 18-year-olds who have mental health issues has come to Dudley Library. It's all part of a national scheme, Reading Well for young people, and follows the success of a similar project targeting adults. 35 books are on offer. They've been handpicked by both the professionals and young people alike. Roshni Patel has the report.
They say more needs to be done to support those with mental health issues across the nation. Part of the response, launching a new book scheme targeting young teens.
Celebrating the launch of a new scheme of books to support the mental health of young people. It's called Reading Well. It's based on the Books on Prescription scheme, which was done for adults, where GPs can prescribe a book. So if someone needs self-help for their nerves, they can prescribe the book of that title. And to get the book, they can come and borrow that from the local library free of charge.
I'm here at the Teen Extra area at Dudley Library. This is where the shelf help books will sit, making it easy for youngsters to gain access as and when they want. The books will cover a wide range of topics and issues, from body image, anxiety, depression and eating disorders, to name but a few. In the past 30 years, it's reported that the number of 15 to 16-year-olds who feel anxious or depressed has doubled. On top of other issues, this means that there are currently around 10% of our youngsters who are diagnosed with a mental health problem. So, how can these books actually help?
Sometimes just reading a novel about an issue makes you think, oh, I'm not the only person with those thoughts and those worries. So this collection is not just non-fiction titles, information books. It's also some stories like The Curious Dog in the Night Time by Mark Haddon. But that's addressing the issues around autism. And actually, when young people get to 13, perhaps they just want to find out for themselves.
The Reading Well for Young People scheme uses book-based therapy in an attempt to help youngsters come to terms with and manage their condition. So with material sitting in libraries like Dudley, what's to say that teenagers will even come to get it?
When young people have been asked, they find that libraries are neutral, trusting places they can trust. They don't feel judged. They don't have to, because we now have self-service in all our libraries, they don't actually have to ask a member of staff if they're too embarrassed or shy to ask them. They can issue the books for themselves. So it's a non-threatening environment, if you like.
Recovering from a mental health issue is a process. There may be setbacks and even relapses. But for the young people living in Dudley, they can take comfort from the fact that on this journey, a bookshelf sitting down the road could be what makes the difference. This is Roshni Patel for Big News in Dudley.
The Victorian-era infection, known nowadays as scarlet fever, is fast becoming a cause for concern among doctors across the UK. It comes because there's been a sharp rise in the number of outbreaks of cases, with over 6,000 since last September. Our reporter Roshni Patel has been finding out more.
A warning from health experts across the country, as scarlet fever is believed to be making a comeback. According to Public Health, the number of outbreaks of the infection have hit an almost 50-year high.
The numbers have gone up, and it's not only in this year we are seeing the rise. For the last 3 to 4 years, we have been seeing a rise of cases of scarlet fever. We are still investigating why that rise is happening. We are really not sure, but what we know is this disease comes in cyclical trends. So every few years there is an increase, and then by itself it comes down.
So what actually is it?
Scarlet fever is an infectious disease, mainly of children. 90% of cases are in children less than 10 years of age. Most of them would be around 4 years, 5 years, 6 years of age bracket, and it is caused by bacterium. Now, this bacteria lives in the nose and the throat and the mouth of people. We don't know exact reasons, but sometimes it causes a disease which presents with high-grade temperature and a rash and swollen tongue.
Across England, there are about 10,000 cases of the infection. The West Midlands accounts for 1,000 of them. That's about 1/10. I'm told that recognising the signs of scarlet fever is the key to prevent even more outbreaks. So, what are the symptoms that people should be looking out for? The first sign could be that a child starts to feel unwell. They then may get a raised temperature, followed by a sore throat, and a rash that starts out on the chest, moves down to the stomach area, before spreading to the rest of the body. Lastly, a swollen and red tongue, which can also be known as the strawberry tongue. If a child is showing these symptoms, the next step is treatment.
Well, firstly, if the child is unwell, you will give drugs to lower down the temperature and give, relief to the child, excessive number of fluids so the child is comfortable. But the mainstay of treatment is antibiotics.
Public Health England has been holding data on the disease since 1982. They're now trawling through it to investigate further. Whilst this resurgence of the infection is a cause for concern, there is one positive fact that doctors already know.
But the point to be noted here is that there is no new strain of the bacteria. It's an easily diagnosed disease, and it's an easily treatable disease as well. So the message that needs to go out is that people should recognize the symptoms and they should take the child to the GP who can give an appropriate course of antibiotics.
This is Roshni Patel for Big News in Birmingham.
A national day aimed at promoting independent record stores has been celebrated across the country. Lindsay Smith went to meet Claire Howell, she's from Vinyl and Vintage, to find out how her Wolverhampton-based business was taking part.
Record Store Day originated in America about 9 years ago, and it came over to the country. And it's been progressively getting bigger and bigger every year. And it's basically was conceived to help independent record shops get more customers coming in to buy records in their shops. So they design records that are only available to buy in independent record shops. So they're exclusive releases, which are obviously produced by the artists for this particular day and this event.
And how popular is an event like this?
Very popular, more and more. This is the fourth year we've done it. The first year we came, there was probably a handful of people waiting outside the shop at 8 o'clock. Now you're probably looking at, 60, 80 people outside the shop. And of course, other stores, there'll be hundreds of people waiting outside. So getting bigger every year.
So you recommend people get here early?
It's best to get here early, especially if you're after those records that, although we might have wanted 10 or 20 copies, but we've only got one in stock. If you really want that record, people sometimes stay overnight to queue up for it.
How important is an event like this for independent record stores?
If it encourages young people to start buying records again, or even get people involved in buying records again that maybe stopped in their 30s or when they had children or something like that, and now they're getting back into it. So anything that just encourages people to come and look at buying the actual object, I think is a really good idea.
Do you think there's something special about vinyl?
Well, for me personally, yes. I mean, I've always been a vinyl junkie. I've collected records for 30 years, and just to actually have the object, to be able to hold it, look at it, the sleeve notes, everything about it. In fact, you can pass it round to your mates, or it's a much more personal thing. And a lot of musicians will say that you create an album because you want the person who's listening to it to start on track 1 and finish on track 10. It was a process that they made so that you would listen to the whole album. Come down to Record Store Day, be early, be in it, although, sometimes you might not get the records that you want. It's a very good atmosphere. It's all about people collecting records. It's about supporting your local record shop and really being a part of it. So you don't necessarily, might not get that one record that you want, but there's lots of really good, interesting things. You'll meet people that are into the music as well, and that all is part of Record Store Day.
Sikh communities up and down the country are getting ready for their annual Vaisakhi celebrations. And at this year's festivity at Walsall Art Gallery, the theme of Langar is expected to be explored. Roshni Patel went there to meet performing artists and learn more about the significance of Langar.
Langar, which means food, is at the centre of Sikh teachings about equality. It's an offering of a free meal to the wider community, regardless of their sex, colour or religion. And at this year's Vaisakhi celebrations in Walsall, Langar will take centre stage.
The theme on the 30th of April is going to be Langar, which is an institution started by Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj 500 and something years ago, and it's about free food and giving to the needy, and also sharing food, so it shows equality.
For around the past 500 years, Sikhs across the globe have been keeping this tradition alive. The event will host an array of performances for its visitors, including sword fighting displays like this, and of course, Bhangra dancing. So, how will Langar fit into the day?
There will be a place where we're going to have it at the gallery where people can come and experience how it would feel like to go into a Sikh temple, a Sikh Gurdwara, to eat and to enjoy the food. So if nobody's been to a Gurdwara before, they can come here and experience, and maybe the next step will be to go to a Gurdwara and eat.
The teaching of Langar lives on within the Sikh community. It's not only a lesson of equality, but also one of compassion, selflessness and love. This is Roshni Patel for Big News in Walsall.
And this year's Vaisakhi celebrations are at Walsall's new art gallery next Saturday. That's the 30th of April.
And thanks to Bob Hall and the Big News team. Still to come after the break, Des and Gary's What's On for Sunday, and then Carl will be here from The Big Picture with a look at the film news. I'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back. It's the Big magazine for you on a Sunday here on Big Centre. Still to come, Carl will be here with the film news. Natalie will join me for a look at the community notice board. Then Taffy will bring us this week's charity focus. Tom Wilkinson will be looking ahead to next week in history, and I'll be delving into the postbag. That's all later on in the show. But first, let's find out what's on for today, Sunday. Who shall we ask? Oh, I know, Des and Gary.
Now, the Night Owl and the International Submarine Club are presenting a vintage and vinyl fair. Expect to find amazing vintage and record stalls with a heavy emphasis on the 60s and 70s. Oh, that'll suit you then.
I'm going.
Get me on back.
I've been to better places than this to be insulted, you know.
It's on the Lower Trinity Street, and there's free entry, and it's from midday until 5 o'clock.
60s and 70s. I think my mum told me all about them.
Yeah.
What were they like? Were they all right?
Yeah,
good days.
Yeah.
Good days.
Yeah.
On the outskirts of Harborne, a popular watering hole is looking to make a difference to causes in their community in 2016 with the help of their loyal locals, of course. This year, the King's Head has pledged to work with as many local charities as possible, and after hosting several successful events since the beginning of the year, their charity quiz tonight is in support of the Queen Alexandra College, who do great work for youngsters with all sorts of disabilities. And
have you been there?
Yeah, I did a TV programme there probably 5 or 6 years ago, and they're just incredible, and you are humbled. And they're lovely, lovely, lovely people.
Great. And staying with charity events, at the Lichfield Garrick, there's a charity concert in aid of the St Giles Hospice and Lichfield Food Bank, featuring the Lichfield Gospel Choir led by Themba Mvula and starring that much-loved Irish comedian Jimmy Cricket. I've worked with Jimmy a few times. Oh, he's brilliant.
Oh,
he's lovely.
fantastic.
Lovely. Not a swear word, not a double entendre. He's just brilliant.
I'd forgotten all about him until now.
Yeah.
I can picture him now.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. And sad to see that the drum might be going. Yeah, I was shocked when I saw that reported.
Me too.
But there's a play called Bangla Brummies on there tonight. It's a new play full of satire, dreams and fantasies, dissecting serious issues and using comedy to look at the lives of Asian immigrants and celebrates their lives in Birmingham. Yeah, it's sad to see that go, but if it's not supported...
Yeah, exactly.
You know, then what can you expect?
Yeah. Gigs tonight, the Hare and Hounds presents The Lovely Eggs plus special guest Okinawa Picture Show. Local songwriter Katie Rose Bennett plays a special show at the Kitchen Garden Cafe to launch her new album, Songs of the River Ray. River Ray. Trevor Burton and his band are at the Brass House on Broad Street. Steve Ajayo's Club Bebop is at the Sun at the station in Kings Heath. And Gregory Porter is at the Symphony Hall. So, time to say goodbye. Yeah.
Brilliant. Goodbye. See you next week.
And here's his delightful song, Hey Laura. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Hey Laura, it's me. Sorry, but I had to ring your doorbell so late. But there's something bothering me. I really am sorry, but it just couldn't wait. Is there someone else instead of me? Go ahead and lie to me and I will believe. You're not in love with him, and this fool can see that the rivers of your love flow uphill to me. Hey Laura, it's me. Sorry, but I had to ring your doorbell so late. But there's something bothering me. I really am sorry, but it just couldn't wait. With a healthy dose of make-believe, won't you lie to me and make me believe that you're in love with me, and this fool can see that the rivers of your love flow uphill to me. Hey Laura, it's me. Sorry, but I had to ring your doorbell so late. But there's something bothering me all night long.
And of course, Des and Gary will be back here on Big Centre with a look at what's on for the rest of the coming week tonight at 7:30, as well as in big news during the week.
Hello, my name is Reverend Jim and I'm the minister at St Matthew's Church in Walsall. The other day my wife arrived home from work only to tell me she had a cracked windscreen on her car. I went out and looked, and sure enough there was a crack about 25 centimetres long across the bottom on the driver's side. She was unsure when the crack had appeared, but there was no doubting it now. It was obvious to everyone and it needed a new windscreen. I found myself thinking that probably the only way to notice these things is to spot the chips very early on and to get them dealt with before they cause major cracks. And then that made me think it can be a bit like that with our relationships both with each other and with God for those who have a religious faith. I'm sure, like many others, there are people in my life who once were very important to me, but then things changed. Although we can't exactly say when, we just know things are different now. For some people it's a bit like that with God. At some times in their life they feel close to God. They attend church regularly and even play leading roles in their church community. Only then things change. Perhaps they miss a few weeks through illness and nobody calls, and then they gradually start to drift away. Or maybe it just happens. Before long they find it difficult to go back. Perhaps they fear that people will comment on their absence and grill them about it. Or perhaps they find life too busy to go to church, although they still have a faith. But then, as their life gets busier and busier, they no longer feel they have the time to spend with God. Jack Dee, the comedian, once put it like this. He said, in effect, a personal relationship with God is something you have to work at, and I'm guilty constantly of just ignoring it. It's a bit like realising you haven't rung your mum for a couple of weeks. The Bible says the same kind of thing, but in a different way. In the letter to the Hebrews, it says, "Let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds. Let us not give up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another." A relationship with God, like our relationships with other people, needs us to work at them. We need to look out for chips in our relationships and deal with them quickly in order to stop them from growing into big cracks. Perhaps that might be something for us to ponder today. Where have there been chips in our relationships, in our lives, and what do we need to do to stop them becoming large cracks? Perhaps today is a time to write that letter, post that card, make that phone call, or send an email message, or simply just to have a chat with God.
Now it's time to join Carl from The Big Picture for a look at this week's film news.
Another bumper week for new cinema releases in the West Midlands. Now, Idris Elba seems to be absolutely everywhere at the moment. He's the voice in the Zootropolis movie, he's the voice in Jungle Book, and now he's doing what we probably know him best for in an action drama called Bastille Day. If you imagine his Luther character and you make him join the CIA and then you plonk him in the middle of Paris and ask him to start causing chaos, that's pretty much what this film is all about. He plays a CIA agent who's not very easy to control. It's 2 or 3 days before the French Bastille Day celebrations in Paris, and some terrorist group is trying to cause mischief and make difficulties for the government. The Americans are trying to operate under the radar without the French police knowing, and in the middle of all this, an American-born pickpocket actually ends up being unwittingly caught in the middle of the whole affair. Is he guilty? Is he not guilty? Well, the police are not too sure. Idris Elba decides the best thing to do is go and hunt him down, and as you'll see from this clip, that involves climbing across the rooftops of Paris. Don't forget, if you'd like more movie news, The Big Picture is Big Centre's movie show. Every Friday at 10 o'clock, a whole hour of news, reviews, interviews with local filmmakers, and also a look at what's on the small screen too.
Thanks, Carl. OK, we're going to take a short break now, but when we come back, Natalie will be joining me for the community notice board. Then Taffy will bring us a look at a local charity in our Charity Focus. And as ever, I'll be delving into the Big Centre postbag too. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back to the final section of Sunday's Big Magazine. Still to come, Taffy will have this week's Charity Focus. Tom Wilkinson will have a look forward to this week in the past. I love saying that. And I'll be seeing what's in the postbag this week. But first... Hello.
Hello.
Like magic, you see.
Now, it's time to have a look at what's happening in your community as we take a look at the community notice board.
Yes. If you have some news that you'd like us to feature, then give us plenty of notice, and you could be telling people all across the area what's going on.
If you want to get in touch, we'll tell you how in a few minutes' time.
Now, the latest from Billy Spakemon is that he's bringing his Homer and Chain show to the Arena Theatre in Wolverhampton on Saturday, the 30th of April.
Ooh, this time round, Billy presents John and Dave, the Alex Van Band, and the headliners are Kin, Lowings and the Greenwood. There's more information at the Arena Theatre box office, or you can go to www.wlv.ac.uk/arena-theatre. Hope you had a pen for that one.
Now you'll probably know that we often mention libraries on the community notice board, and why not? There's always something interesting going on at any one of them.
This week, Robert Hazel, thank you Robert Hazel, has been in touch again from Tipton Library to let us know what's happening during April. Amongst the regular events are Knit and Natters every Wednesday afternoon from 2 till 4.
Now, if you're interested in tracing your family history, then there's help and advice on Friday mornings from 10 till 12, and then there's a carers group every Wednesday morning between 10 and 12.
I traced what my last name meant.
Did you?
This week. Yeah, coincidentally, just as soon as we're talking about this. Cutler comes from the makers of cutlery. No.
Of course it does.
Never.
Where? Okay. Well, I looked at mine once as well, and apparently Bannister has got something to do with archery. I have
I would
no
have thought
idea.
it was stairs.
Well, so would I. I always got teased about that when I was little, and nothing changes.
Oh, I get called cutlery all the time.
Oh, do you?
It's okay, Lee. It's okay. It's
Oh.
okay. Shall we carry on?
Yes.
And something called Cant and Colour, which is on Tuesday mornings 10 till 12, where you can enjoy a natter over a cuppa and some relaxing colouring.
Sounds like heaven, actually. Now, also on Tuesday mornings, you'll find the Welfare Advice Surgery, where you can get free, confidential, impartial and independent benefits and general advice. And then on Friday afternoons, there's a Scrabble Club from 2 till 4.
Plus, as well as the usual borrowing facilities, books, DVDs, CDs, talking books, e-books, you can borrow up to 30 items. There's free internet and Wi-Fi too.
Oh, and you can drop in and play a traditional board game, get help with homework, play a bit of table football, try some PS4 or Xbox games, or simply do a jigsaw.
Interested? Well, that little lot is just what's happening in Tipton Library. So that is what is coming up on our community notice board for this week.
Yes. Would you like to tell people across the area what's going on? Get in touch with us, but make sure you let us know in plenty of time.
You can email us via the postbag, that's postbag@bigcentre.tv. Send a message on social media at Big Centre TV, or
Pop a letter in the post. Do you want to click your fingers like we used to?
okay.
There we go. It's the Community Notice Board, Big Centre, 14A Lower Hall Lane, Walsall, WS1 1RL. OK, now it's time for our new feature, Charity Focus. And if you know of a local charity that will benefit from some good local exposure on the telly, then do get in touch and I'll tell you how later on in the show.
The Women and Families Resource Centre is a registered charity based in Wolverhampton which supports, provides services, develops programmes, empowers and advocates for women and children. We caught up with them to talk and find out just a little bit more about what it is that makes them the hub for women and families.
We started in 2006 as a support group for African women coming together and supporting each other, and it was us trying to give advice to each other, supporting each other, to signpost each other or help each other when we were going through difficulties. And I think we decided to open up because friends brought friends, and everybody brought their friends to to be a part of it. And in 2009 we decided to open up to other women in the community who were facing the same problems that we were facing, and be able to support them. So we registered as a charity, which was then called the African Women of Substance.
For a few years, the team decided the name did not reflect the work and cultural groups they worked with, so changed their name to the Women and Families Resource Centre, and in 2009 they became a UK registered charity.
We support and empower women and provide and develop programs which would help them to reach their full potential. Our main aim is to facilitate the integration of the woman into the community, whilst empowering her to identify her own problems, create her own solutions, and make her own choices to reach her full potential. The same problems that African women face, these are the same problems that women from any ethnicity would face, the same barriers. So we had to open up to women from other backgrounds and ethnicities, which is why we decided to become the Women and Families Resource Centre.
You talk about helping women from different cultures and ethnicities within the community, but do you have any space and place for men within the organization?
Well, we work with women and families, so that includes men, but we wouldn't work with a single or individual man. So if a man was in a family where he was facing problems and difficulties, then naturally the woman suffers, the family suffers as a whole. So we would definitely work with that man. In that case, we provide mediation services as well, which is our take of when families have difficulties, we work with both the woman and the man and the kids. So we bring the whole family together to try and make sure that the family works as a proper unit.
There are many ways the charity seeks to raise awareness of various issues within the community, and one of the main events this year is the family-friendly Walk Against Domestic Violence event at West Park.
Just confirmed, Karim, regarding the domestic walk that we're having in the park?
No, not really. I think we should really chase up on this, because it's so important for this charity to make sure that the word gets out that we're getting that walk at the park. Domestic violence is a really big issue, and only getting the clients that we get coming in here, they have to have that courage to be able to take that bold step to come in here and seek for support. So it's extremely important that we get as many people to, onto the walk, we get as many hands on there.
Another event that will help fundraise for various causes within the charity whilst recognising the accomplishments of women all over the region is the All Women Achievers Awards.
So this is a platform that we created for women that are doing positive things in the community, so that we can recognize them. Because sometimes as women, as mothers, we do a lot of things in the community, and sometimes we go unrecognized. So we are creating a platform for the women to be recognized for this work that they're doing. We have about 15 categories, and I'm sure each woman within the community, there is a category that they can be fitted in and to be nominated. So we're inviting, whether they're men or businesses or organizations, to just nominate a woman that they know that they're doing an outstanding work within the community.
Most of the workers here are volunteers. They volunteer their time, and that's just because they know that somebody has to do it. So even if it's just 1 hour that you're willing to give a week, it's 2 hours. It's very necessary for us to get volunteers, people to support us and support the work that we do. So you can get involved in anywhere.
And we'll have a look at another local charity at the same time next week. Now it's time for a history lesson. And joining me again for a look at what happened during next week, but in years gone by, from Doorstep History, it's Tom Wilkinson. Welcome again, Tom.
Hello again.
Hello. Now, what have we got this week?
This week, we're having a look at the week to come.
The week to come, yes.
Yes, and we'll start on April the 24th in 1184 BC, which is the traditional date of the fall of Troy.
Oh, OK. We must remember that.
Obviously, Trojan horse.
Ah, of course it was, yes.
Got to remember the story of the Trojan horse.
They did a Doctor Who story about it in 1966.
Don't remember that.
No, you wouldn't. Well, no, I wasn't around. It's called The Mythmakers, yeah, if you're wondering. Anyway, yeah.
But you probably remember the film with Brad Pitt and Eric Bana.
Of course, yes, yeah.
Yeah. 1953, Winston Churchill was knighted by Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, well. Wow. 1953, that was the year of her coronation, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, for his efforts during the war. 1957, the first ever broadcast of The Sky at Night with Sir Patrick Moore.
Oh, brilliant, The Sky. I love that programme. I never watch it enough.
No, but sadly, Patrick Moore's no longer with us.
Yes, a couple of years ago.
Do you think he was a pretty strong staple of the show?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Even when he was sort of in failing health towards the end of his life, they still kept him in the show, in his chair.
I think he wanted to stay in the show, to be honest.
Yeah,
because he loved it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
2005, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger is inaugurated as Pope Benedict XVI following the death of John Paul II.
Now unique,
he's
isn't he?
unique because he's the only pope in history to ever resign from his position.
Isn't that fascinating? I'm surprised that's not happened before. But then it's effectively a job for life, isn't it?
Well, it's just like the controversy when Edward VIII abdicated from the monarchy. It's just something that's not done.
Yeah.
It's not conceivable for people who don't have power to step down from power, is it?
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. April the 25th, the Easter Uprising in Ireland. Ireland is placed in under martial law by the British.
Oh, right, okay.
Quite a lot of trouble over that. Over the course of over the Troubles. Yeah. Which eventually would lead up to the Republic of Ireland's independence from the United Kingdom.
So it stems from that point. Okay, that's interesting.
Well, there's a lot of history.
Oh yeah. But that's one
Ireland,
of the
but that's
marked.
one of the main focus points, the Easter Uprising.
Okay.
April the 26th. Now, this is one that everybody will probably have heard of and remember. That's the Chernobyl disaster in the Ukraine.
I remember it well. I know you weren't around then, but
I wasn't around. But
I remember that. Yeah.
You still hear stories. I mean, I saw a video that our science teacher showed us at school, and it was a lamb, and it had a leg growing out of its head from the radiation that had come.
Seriously?
That had come over in the atmosphere and come down in Scotland.
Oh, I didn't realise
It
that.
had mutated the lamb.
Good grief. Yes, I do remember that. I mean, if there is a lighter note on that, a couple of years ago, Top Gear, as was Jeremy Clarkson, they actually drove across the country, and they ended up at Chernobyl. But the point was, still the radiation is so strong that you can't spend more than a certain amount of time there. I think it's a matter of minutes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Still, because the half-life of the decaying radiation takes thousands and thousands of years.
Well, probably about 100 or so years before it reaches relatively safe levels.
Relatively safe, yeah. That's
But around the actual reactor itself, that'll be for centuries to come before that'll be safe to go anywhere near.
And it's still completely encased in concrete, isn't it? Good grief, yeah.
April the 27th. Good local one this is.
Oh, yes?
Well, sort of local. It's 1992, and Betty Boothroyd became the first ever female speaker in the House of Commons.
Ah, yes. Good old Betty.
Betty Boothroyd, MP for West Bromwich, as it was before it was split into East and West.
That's right, yes. Betty was my nan's MP
Yeah.
for many years, and my nan would always write to her, "Come on, Betty, sort this out." Apparently she was very nice.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good stories about her. 2006 construction began on the Freedom Tower in New York City to replace the Twin Towers.
Ah, right,
after
yes.
their destruction in 2001.
That is also now known as the World Trade Centre, isn't it? Part of the new site, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw a documentary about that again last year when they were sort of completing it, and it's a monster. It really is. Very clever construction. I thought that was fascinating. I love stuff like that.
Brilliant use of light.
Yes, definitely, yeah. Time now to see what you've been saying to us. It's time for the postbag. And our old friend Robert Hazel has been in touch to remind us about something we mentioned on the community board notice board last week. He says this year sees the 400th anniversary of the death of William Shakespeare, you don't say. And an exciting new project is celebrating the wit, wisdom and legacy of the Bard throughout the country. Celebrating Shakespeare is marking the Bard's anniversary with library activities and events over several months. Now this weekend, Sandwell Libraries have been inviting everyone to come and join in the fun by visiting their local library to take a Shakespeare selfie with specially produced Bard quote bubbles and posting them onto social media on the anniversary Saturday with the hashtag Shakespeare16. Now Robert Hazel has sent in a few quotes, so see if you can identify where these come from. To be or not to be, that is the question. Hamlet. Oh Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Romeo and Juliet. Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more, Henry V. And here's one that I could never remember. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Sonnet 18. And finally, when shall we three meet again? It's from the Scottish play, Macbeth. Shouldn't have said that, should I? Anyway, some mischievous library staff have given the Bard a black country makeover, and they've produced speech bubbles with a local flavour. To bay or not to bay? So like eBay. An os, me kingdom for an os. Oh, Ainuk, where bin your Ainuk? I love those. Now, don't worry if you've missed it this weekend. Remember, you can see the Shakespeare selfies if you look up the hashtag Shakespeare16 or keep up with the latest Shakespeare quotes from Sandwell Library on Twitter. They are at Sandwell Libs. And remember, all the world's a selfie. Now, last week in our charity focus, we featured Seek Aid International, and they were very pleased with the report that our Taffy Mushipe put together. Inder Bogal is part of the Seek Aid team, and he sent a message to say, remarkable generosity and heart demonstrated by Tafadzwa Mushipe and the Big Centre team. I'm moved and touched by the commitments Taffy shows in bringing awareness to the public and of those charities and organisations that make such a difference with equality, integrity and unconditionally. Love. Seek-Aid International and Seek Coaching are grateful and wholeheartedly support Big Centre. Marvellous. Also, Kate McTeague, also from Seek-Aid International, said, Taffy, we're so grateful for the opportunity you've afforded us here at Seek-Aid International. Big Centre is making a difference in the community and further afield. Thank you to you and your team. Cheers. And that's exactly the point. Now, thanks to Inda and Kate for letting us feature them. And that goes for everyone you see on our weekly charity focus. It really is here for you, so please do get in touch. We'd love to feature as many local charities and the good work that they do as possible. So watch out for our contact details in a few moments. Now, every week on Big Centre, as well as on all of the local TV channels across the country, you can see Digital Nation on 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights. Now, the show is there to let you see what's happening around the country, as reported by our colleagues in local TV. Now, it's co-produced by the BBC, and as well as watching it on Big Centre, you can also have a look at it on the BBC iPlayer. Now, often some of our big news reports are featured on the show, and recently a piece that Roshni did with Bagdock Designs was featured. Now, like us, they were evidently thrilled at this national exposure. On Facebook, they sent a message to say, thrilled that the wonderful report done by Roshni and Big Centre has been selected to appear on the BBC's Digital Nation programme. Cracking job, guys. Thanks, well done. Now, Paul Westwood, he's a local lad. He got in touch this week to say, just walked past your place. Ever thought about bringing back the Krypton factor, as you've got a ready-made assault course outside? Lol. Now, you know what, Paul, it's not a bad idea. Now, if you wonder what's going on, well, just along from our studios, the road is closed, there are some roadworks and building works too. It's all to do with the redevelopment of this area of Walsall at the moment, and the plans are looking quite good, so let's see how it turns out. Maybe we'll think about the Krypton factor, who knows? Next, it's competition time. Well, actually, it's winners time. We have a big thank you to say to everyone who entered our Big Up My Business contest to win a free advertising campaign, and to all those who helped by liking and sharing. And it's congratulations to our competition winners. The lucky three are Social Frames, LS Prestige Estates and Gem Magazine. Now, I won't tell you anything more about them because obviously you'll soon be seeing their adverts right here on Big Centre. And of course, if you'd like to follow in their footsteps and advertise on the TV, then why don't you get in touch with us? You might just be surprised. Watch out for our contact details shortly. And finally, you know that we're all over social media? We always mention that every week. Well, here's a reminder of another one to add to your list. We're on LinkedIn. So just do search for Big Centre Television and then connect with us for updates and opportunities to get involved. So there you have it. That's what we found in the postbag for this week. And if you'd like to get in touch with us then on social media, we are at Big Centre TV. And of course, you can always email us, postbag@bigcentre.tv. Or you can write to us at the address for anything at all is Big Centre, 14A, Lower Hall Lane, Walsall, WS1 1RL. And that's your Big Magazine for Sunday. Remember, you can catch the Big Magazine on Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. and we're back with more on Sundays also at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. During the week, we're with you at 8 until 9 in the morning and again from 10 till 11. Big News continues at 1 o'clock, 5:30 and again at 9 with updates throughout the day. So I do hope you can join us then from the whole team here. Thanks for watching this weekend and I'll see you later. Ta-ra a bit.